Chapter 11: Signs of Hope. Glimmers of light. The dust still hung heavy in the air, a grim testament to the devastation wrought by the final confrontation. Buildings stood as skeletal remains against the bruised, gray sky. The air, thick with the smell of smoke and decay, carried a chilling silence, broken only by the occasional groan of a collapsing structure. It was a landscape of ruin, a stark reminder of the battle that had just concluded, a battle that had tested their faith and endurance beyond measure. Yet, even in this desolate wasteland, seeds of hope were beginning to sprout. Sarah knelt beside a makeshift grave, a small mound of earth marking the final resting place of one of their comrades. Tears streamed down her face, a mixture of grief and exhaustion. The loss was profound, a gaping hole in the heart of the Covenant. But as she looked around, she saw others doing the same, offering silent prayers and sharing quiet words of comfort. Their faces, though etched with sorrow, held a strength that surprised her, a resolve forged in the crucible of their shared experiences. Amidst the rubble, small acts of kindness unfolded. A woman, her face gaunt but kind, shared her meager rations with a child shivering in the cold. A man, his clothes tattered and torn, helped an elderly woman find shelter in a partially intact building. These simple gestures, these small sparks of compassion, shone like beacons in the overwhelming darkness. They were testaments to the enduring human spirit, a spirit nurtured and sustained by faith. Days bled into weeks. Slowly, painstakingly, the survivors began the arduous task of rebuilding. The Covenant, though diminished in number, remained a cornerstone of this effort. Their shared faith provided a foundation, a bedrock upon which they could construct a new world from the ashes of the old. They weren't just rebuilding structures. They were rebuilding lives, hearts, and spirits. The work was physically demanding, but the spiritual labor was equally arduous. They wrestled with the trauma of their losses, confronting the pain and the guilt, but always returning to the solace found in their faith and prayer. They had seen the face of evil and had experienced the devastation it could unleash, but they had also seen the power of God's grace, the unwavering support that sustained them even in their darkest hours. Their experience had deepened their faith, making it stronger and more resilient than ever before. As they worked, they discovered hidden pockets of resilience within the broken community. Groups of survivors, independent of the Covenant, had formed their own support networks, driven by shared faith and a common purpose. They were a diverse group, from different backgrounds and walks of life, yet they were united by their shared belief in God's plan and His promises. Each found strength in the other, their faith reinforcing their hope in rebuilding and restoring communities. These new communities were built on a foundation of faith, compassion, and service. The emphasis was not just on rebuilding physical structures, but on building strong relationships based on mutual trust and support. The sharing of resources was common. Needs were met not through competition or greed, but through mutual support. The principles of love, forgiveness, and reconciliation were actively practiced, in stark contrast to the strife and chaos of the world before the apocalypse. Their faith provided not only a spiritual anchor, but also a practical blueprint for creating a just and equitable society. One particularly inspiring initiative involved the establishment of makeshift schools and medical centers. Utilizing salvaged materials and their combined knowledge, they created spaces for education and healing. These spaces weren't just about imparting knowledge or providing medical care. They were about fostering hope and empowering the next generation. Children, once traumatized by the violence and chaos, were given the opportunity to learn and heal, to grow into responsible and compassionate members of their new communities. Sarah, with her journalistic background, played a crucial role in documenting these efforts, sharing their stories, and inspiring others to contribute to their cause. Her writing, once focused on exposing corruption and injustice, now aimed at celebrating hope and resilience. She used her skills to create a record of their struggles and triumphs, hoping to provide a testament to the enduring power of faith in the face of overwhelming adversity. She meticulously documented the rebuilding efforts of the new communities, creating a rich history for future generations. As the days turned into months, a sense of community blossomed. The survivors, once strangers, were now bound together by shared grief, shared struggles, and a shared faith. They found solace and support in each other, and the sense of fellowship was something they cherished above all else. The shared worship and prayer services became not just spiritual exercises, but social gatherings, offering moments of togetherness in the midst of their loneliness. The rebuilding was far from complete, but the signs of progress were undeniable. New homes were constructed, makeshift farms were established, and a sense of order and stability began to emerge from the chaos. The old world may have been lost, but a new one, built on the principles of faith, compassion, and mutual support, was taking its place. And in the heart of this new world, Sarah found a new purpose, a new reason to believe, a renewed sense of hope. The resilience of faith was vividly apparent in the way the survivors adapted and transformed. They didn't just survive, they thrived, embracing the challenges with a remarkable spirit of determination. Their faith wasn't a passive belief, but an active force, guiding their decisions, inspiring their actions, and sustaining their hope in a world that seemed utterly hopeless. Each act of kindness, each shared prayer, each moment of compassion served as a powerful testament to the enduring strength of their beliefs. Moreover, the growth and development of the new communities served as a poignant demonstration of God's presence and His working in their lives. The transformation wasn't just physical, it was spiritual, a metamorphosis of hearts and minds, as they moved from despair and hopelessness to renewed purpose and faith. The shared challenges had drawn them together, creating bonds of solidarity that were stronger than any earthly ties. The glimmers of light were not merely symbolic, they were tangible expressions of a growing hope. The rebuilt structures, the blossoming gardens, the laughter of children, these were all signs of a renewed spirit, a testament to the enduring power of faith in the face of catastrophe. They were visual reminders of God's grace and His faithfulness, even amidst the devastation and loss. Their experience underscored the profound importance of community, of the supportive bonds that sustain human life in times of crisis. They learned that faith was not something to be practiced in isolation, but in the company of fellow believers who offer strength, support, and encouragement. This new world was a testament to the power of collective faith and the transformative potential of shared purpose. The challenges remained, but they were now faced not with fear and despair, but with courage and unwavering hope. The future remained uncertain, but the survivors were confident in their faith, knowing that even in the darkest of times, God's grace was sufficient, His love unwavering, and His promise of eternal life ever present. The journey had been arduous, filled with loss and suffering, yet the spirit of faith that had sustained them throughout their trials would continue to guide them as they walked into the uncertain future, rebuilding lives and communities, and, in doing so, creating a powerful testament to the enduring power of faith. Acts of kindness. The first rays of dawn, weak and hesitant, struggled to pierce the gloom that clung to the ravaged city. A pall of smoke still hung low, a grim reminder of the battles fought and won. Yet, even in this desolation, something remarkable was happening. Something that spoke not of destruction, but of resilience, of faith, and most powerfully, of love. Amidst the rubble and the ruins, acts of kindness blossomed, fragile yet tenacious, like wildflowers pushing through cracked concrete. Sarah, a woman whose face bore the etched lines of hardship, but whose eyes shone with an unwavering gentleness, was tending to a small boy, his arm bandaged with a makeshift splint fashioned from scavenged wood and cloth. The boy, no older than 8, was one of the many orphans left in the wake of the cataclysm. He whimpered softly, his small hand clutching Sarah's, a poignant picture of vulnerability and trust. Sarah hummed a hymn, her voice low and soothing, a melody of comfort in the silence. She had lost her own child in the conflict, yet she found solace, a strange and unexpected peace in caring for this child, a living embodiment of hope in this landscape of despair. Further down the street, a group of men, their faces grim but determined, were clearing debris, working together with a silent efficiency born of shared purpose and mutual respect. They were from different backgrounds, different walks of life, yet united by a common goal: to rebuild, to restore, to create a semblance of order from the chaos. One of them, a former mechanic named David, meticulously repaired a damaged water pump, his weathered hands moving with practiced skill. He knew that clean water was vital, essential to life in this ravaged city, and he worked with a quiet dedication that spoke volumes about his faith in a better future. His heart ached, missing his family, but he pressed on, fueled by his devotion to God and the hope for a new beginning. Across the street, a woman named Emily, a former teacher, was setting up a makeshift school under the shade of a half-collapsed building. She gathered a group of children, their eyes wide with a mixture of fear and excitement, and began to read to them from a salvaged Bible, her voice clear and strong. The stories she told, tales of faith, resilience, and hope, resonated deeply with the children, offering them a sense of comfort and stability in a world turned upside down. The simple act of sharing stories, of transmitting knowledge and hope, became a beacon of light in the darkness. Later that day, Elijah, a young man who had survived the conflict only by sheer luck and unwavering faith, found a group of people huddled around a meager fire, their faces, gaunt and drawn, told of starvation and desperation. Elijah, remembering his own struggles, had collected what little food he had and shared it with them. His heart was heavy with the thought of his own empty larder, but seeing the gratitude in their eyes, he found a deeper satisfaction, a spiritual fulfillment that surpassed any material possession. He knew that God would provide, and he always did. These acts of kindness, small and seemingly insignificant in the grand scheme of the apocalyptic devastation, became threads of hope woven into the tapestry of survival. They were testaments to the enduring power of the human spirit, a testament to the love that surpassed even the harshest realities. The shared meals, the acts of service, the simple words of comfort, all bore witness to a faith that transcended fear and despair. In the evenings, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, the survivors gathered together. They shared stories of loss, of hardship, and of miraculous deliverance. They prayed together, their voices rising in unison, a chorus of hope echoing through the ruins. Their faith, tested and refined in the crucible of suffering, emerged stronger and more resilient than ever before. They knew that the road ahead was long and arduous, but they walked it together, united in their shared faith and bolstered by their acts of kindness, confident that their God was with them every step of the way. A group of women, skilled seamstresses before the cataclysm, utilized scraps of salvaged fabric to create warm clothing for the children, their fingers nimble and quick, their hearts filled with compassion. These weren't just clothes, they were symbols of hope, tangible expressions of love and care. Their expertise, once a source of personal pride and livelihood, now became a powerful tool of compassion, stitching together not only garments, but also the torn fabric of a community. Another man, a former carpenter, used his skills to repair damaged homes, providing shelter for those who had lost everything. He worked tirelessly, his hands calloused and worn, his spirit strong and unwavering. Each nail he hammered, each beam he placed, was an act of faith, a declaration that even amidst the ruins, life could and would be rebuilt. The collective effort was incredible. People who previously only knew each other in passing now worked together, sharing skills, resources, and hope. The walls separating them, once erected by fear and suspicion, crumbled under the weight of shared hardship and the unifying power of faith. Even the children played a part. Small hands collected firewood, brought water from the damaged wells, and offered comfort to those in need. Their innocence and pure-hearted actions touched the hearts of the adults, reinforcing the fact that even the most innocent among them were not immune to the devastation, yet their capacity for compassion and empathy remained undimmed. Their resilience, a simple acceptance of the new reality and a desire to help, served as an inspiration. As the days turned into weeks, the city began to show signs of transformation. Amidst the rubble, small gardens sprouted, tended by those who had found a measure of peace in nurturing life from the ashes of destruction. The air, though still thick with the scent of smoke, began to carry the sweet fragrance of growing things. The acts of kindness were not merely gestures of charity. They were acts of faith, tangible expressions of God's love in a world desperately in need of healing. Each act, however small, was a beacon of hope, a testament to the enduring power of compassion and the transformative nature of faith. These weren't just acts of kindness. They were miracles, performed in the midst of a world that had seemingly forgotten how to love. They were a silent yet powerful declaration that even in the face of unimaginable destruction, the Spirit of God would not be extinguished. The hope that bloomed from these acts of kindness wasn't just a sentiment. It was a living, breathing testament to the unwavering power of faith, the enduring strength of the human spirit, and the extraordinary capacity of love to heal even the deepest wounds. It was a silent prayer whispered into the shattered landscape, a prayer of hope, a prayer of love, a prayer of faith that resonated with the promise of a new dawn. Rebuilding communities. The first tentative steps towards rebuilding weren't grand gestures, but quiet acts of determination. It began with the clearing of debris, a shattered window pane carefully swept aside, a fallen beam painstakingly levered free. These weren't tasks performed with heavy machinery, but with calloused hands, fueled by prayer and shared burdens. In the ruins of what was once a bustling marketplace, a small group gathered, their faces etched with weariness, but their spirits surprisingly bright. Among them was Elder Michael, a man whose faith had remained steadfast throughout the chaos, his words a balm to the wounded souls around him. He spoke not of vengeance or despair, but of forgiveness and hope, his voice a steady anchor in the storm. He reminded them of the scripture that spoke of rebuilding the broken walls, of restoring the desolate places, of turning ashes into beauty. Their first task was the most basic, finding shelter. The skeletal remains of buildings offered little protection from the elements, but with ingenuity and shared effort, they managed to create temporary havens, using salvaged tarpaulins, scraps of wood, and anything that could provide even a modicum of warmth and safety. Each salvaged piece became a symbol of hope, a testament to their refusal to surrender to despair. Stories were shared, stories of survival, of loss, and of unexpected grace. Each story was a prayer, a whispered plea for strength and guidance, for the divine hand to guide their efforts. As they worked, a sense of community began to emerge, a bond forged in the crucible of shared hardship. Differences in background and belief seemed to melt away, replaced by a common purpose, survival and the building of a new life. This was not a community built on the foundations of power or wealth, but on a foundation of faith and shared humanity. They had little, but they shared what they had, offering comfort and support to those who were struggling. Food was scarce, but meals were shared, prayers were said together, and a sense of belonging began to bloom amidst the ruins. Among the volunteers was Sarah, a young woman who had lost everything, her home, her family, her sense of purpose. Yet, in the midst of this devastation, she found a new purpose, a new meaning to her existence. She possessed a gift for organization, her quiet efficiency proving invaluable in coordinating the efforts of the volunteers. She meticulously cataloged the salvaged supplies, ensuring that every item was used effectively. Her quiet confidence was a testament to the enduring strength of the human spirit, a symbol of hope amidst despair. Her faith, though tested, had not wavered. Instead, it had deepened, finding new strength in the shared struggle. Another key figure was John, a former carpenter, his hands still capable of creating something beautiful from broken pieces. He used his skills to build sturdy shelters, taking pride in the craftsmanship, even in these makeshift homes. Each shelter he built was a prayer, a silent offering to God, his hands a tangible expression of his unwavering faith. His quiet strength was a constant reassurance to those around him. He showed them that hope could be found not just in faith, but in the simple acts of rebuilding, the tangible evidence of a future being constructed amidst the rubble. As the community grew, so did their needs. Clean water was a critical concern. A small, miraculously untouched well became their lifeline, its water a precious gift. They established a system for rationing and distribution, carefully managing their resources, understanding the value of what they had. This awareness was a lesson, teaching them humility, stewardship, and the importance of sharing the blessings that they received. The very act of managing this vital resource strengthened their bonds. It was not simply about surviving, but about working together to ensure their collective well-being. Their faith guided them, not to hoard, but to share, reflecting God's abundant generosity. With the basic needs of shelter and water addressed, they turned their attention to food. They began to cultivate small plots of land, planting seeds salvaged from destroyed homes and gardens. This was a slow and painstaking process, but the act of planting seeds was symbolic, planting seeds of hope in the barren earth, a sign of their unwavering faith in the future. They tended the earth with reverence, aware that their sustenance was a divine gift, a tangible sign of God's grace. They prayed for rain, for growth, for sustenance, their voices rising in unison, a chorus of hope echoing through the ravaged landscape. Their shared faith was the bedrock of this community. Prayers were offered daily, not just for survival, but for guidance, for strength, for forgiveness. Scripture was read and shared, its words a source of comfort and inspiration. Their faith wasn't simply a personal belief. It was the glue that held their community together, providing a shared framework for their actions, a common source of hope in the face of overwhelming odds. They found strength not just in themselves, but in their shared faith, their shared belief that God would see them through. They were not simply survivors, but believers, forging a new life from the ashes of the old, their faith their guiding light. But rebuilding was more than just physical structures. It was about rebuilding hearts and spirits, mending the wounds of trauma and loss. Grief counseling sessions were held, offering support to those struggling to cope with their losses. These sessions, led by Elder Michael and other faith leaders, emphasized forgiveness, healing, and the importance of embracing the hope that God offered. They shared their burdens, allowing the weight of trauma to be shared amongst them rather than carried alone. They learned from each other, supporting one another through the healing process. This spiritual dimension proved as vital as the physical work of reconstruction. It was about mending not just the city, but the souls within it. The community began to attract others, those who had been living in isolation, clinging to life in the ruins. They were welcomed, their stories heard, their fears acknowledged. The community wasn't merely about providing physical shelter and sustenance, but about offering hope, offering a sense of belonging, a reminder that they were not alone. These newcomers brought with them new skills, new perspectives, enriching the community and strengthening its resilience. The circle of hope continued to grow, radiating outward from their small haven. Their commitment to faith manifested itself in unexpected ways. As the community grew, they started a school, a place not only to educate children, but to instill in them a sense of hope and faith. They taught them to read, to write, to cherish the beauty of creation, to embrace the love of God. They instilled in them the value of community, of working together, of sharing the blessings they had been given. It wasn't merely an institution of learning. It was a sanctuary of faith, nurturing the future generation in the principles of compassion, resilience, and unwavering belief in a benevolent God. The education provided went beyond basic literacy. It emphasized character building, moral values, and the importance of living a life guided by faith. The rebuilding process was slow, arduous, and fraught with challenges. There were moments of doubt, moments of despair, but their faith, their shared purpose, Their unwavering belief in a brighter future kept them moving forward. The community wasn't perfect. Conflicts arose, disagreements occurred. But they learned to resolve these issues through prayer, through dialogue, through forgiveness. Their faith was not a shield against conflict, but a framework for reconciliation, a means of navigating disagreements with grace and understanding. Their commitment to one another became stronger through these challenges, proving that their bonds were deeply rooted in their shared belief in God's grace. The dawn broke, not just on a physical landscape, but on a community reborn. Their new community was more than bricks and mortar. It was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, the transformative power of faith, and the enduring strength of love, a beacon of hope in a world still shrouded in the shadow of destruction. Their actions weren't just acts of survival, they were acts of faith, transforming devastation into a testament to the enduring power of God's love and grace. Their rebuilt community served as a powerful symbol that even in the face of unimaginable loss, the human spirit, when fueled by faith, can not only survive but thrive.